Hello the 31st here, how's it going? Welcome back to another PowerPoint presentation. Today we're looking at more Crown Tundra stuff, specifically the Regis. What we'll do is we'll start with the interesting bits from the Pokemon website, and then we'll go into the juicy bits from the trailers. So to the Pokemon website, there's nothing super useful, to be honest. It's basically all just folklore and speculation, there's nothing concrete here. For example, this quote just, "Some theorize that in ancient times, people did something." Like, that's not massively helpful, it's all just conjecture, but so is most of Pokemon lore. I also have a question about these so-called researchers. Who are they, and how exactly are they researching this Pokemon that, as far as we are aware, is locked away in a temple? Are we not the first people to get access to it and awaken it? It might just be more lies. Regidregos straight up says it's all just folklore, it's all just tales people are telling each other. An old story of a dragon head made by Regigigis, but again, this is just weird, isn't it? It says, people feared its completion and so it was sealed away, but how old is Regigigis? What was Regigigis doing? Did he actually make it? Is he nothing to do with these Pokemon? Was he even trying to make a dragon? I think it probably would have realized if it didn't have enough dragon crystals to make a full body and instead only had enough to make a head. So this might just be crazy people talking again. It always sort of confuses me with Regigigis and the lore, stuff like that. It's all stories. Why do people put so much faith and stock into these stories? But at the same time, stuff like statues of legendary Pokemon are always incredibly accurate. When were legendary Pokemon like Regigigis shaping the Earth? Did they actually do the things that they were said to have done? For example, move the continents? Or is it just a powerful Pokemon that people made up stories about? So Hoops and Hip Hop had a great theory. There's not a ton of actual videos worth watching on this topic of the Regis, but I thought this was one, so I'd give it a little shout out. But I do have something that sort of contradicts it. I'm not going to explain the full theory. If you want to go see all the evidence, see the theory, go watch the video. I highly recommend it. It's a good video. But essentially, the general gist of these theories is that the Regis are all built in and represent a certain age. The Ice Age, the Stone Age, some kind of Metal Age, maybe the Age of Electricity and Technology, and the Age of Dragons. So we're talking medieval times. And again, that does fit well with the idea that Galar is the United Kingdom. But unfortunately, what doesn't work is the idea that they were built in these times. They might represent them, the different ages. However, it's very unlikely that Regieleki, the Age of Technology, was made recently by Regigigis, as its temple and all the temples of all the different Regis in the Crown Tundra are incredibly old and dilapidated. So it doesn't really make sense that way. So we'll go over to the trailer bits now, starting with Regice, as he's the first one we see. We see the front of Regice's temple, with Regice's face dots on the front of it. In the bottom right, we see the inside, so the layout. The floor is dotted with the same patterns in small circles. And at the end is one of those dolls you can see in the top right. These dolls, there appears to probably be one for every single of the different Regis, and they're most likely to be some kind of inert, inactive form of the Regis, so calling back to their origins in Hebrew and Jewish mythology as golems. I'll get some pictures of golem statues on screen now so you can sort of compare the two, but it is obviously very, very similar there. And these are what golems look like before they've been brought to life, animated. And I think it's probably the same thing for the Regis. This is what they look like before you bring them to life. So the big question is, how are we going to bring them to life? Well, probably has something to do with the floor there. Here's a sort of close-up version so we can see this is Registeel's one, but it's got these lights coming up from the ground representing Registeel's face arrangement and Registeel in his golem inert form at the back. He does appear to have 6 holes right on the abdomen there, again sort of where Regigigis does. I don't know what those are for. You might need to put something inside of them or something else. I don't know. So again, for Regirock, we have the same sort of thing. We have the front of his temple, but we also have the inside a little bit clearer there. Again, we can see the lights on the ground for Regirock's H-face shape thing on the ground, and also the inert Regirock in the background. But in the top left, we have something very interesting, and it's sort of like a cross-section of how these are going to look. So it might be a little bit clearer to see there. Basically, what you can see is the front of the temple, and you can see the top of it with a beam of light shining in. And if we have a look at the images we can see of the trailers, so we can sort of piece this together a bit. So as you can see, we have the front just coming off where the logo is and all the pillars are. Then you walk up some stairs through the door into the main chamber. It's going to be one big room with these lights on the ground. And as you can see, there's light shining in through those 5 slits at the top, which then is visible on the ground there in the image of Registeel's room. With the light entering and these sensitive floor lights, it all reminds me very much of Indiana Jones. It's the vibe I'm getting, and I'm excited. I love Indiana Jones, and yeah, I'm excited to be a temple explorer, cracking the mysteries and puzzles to awaken ancient beasts. Registeel's image has a box with a potentially pressure pad in it. It's some form of item. I don't know what it is. That might be what's underneath the ground. Also, you can see the way it has a little key there, and it looks like the lights are going to go from white as they are normally to red. So maybe either when they're activated or if you do something wrong. Though based on the fact that Registeel's face, like the lights in his face are red, my guess is that when they activate, when they are the right color, they're going to be the color that they are on the Regi. So they will go from white to red when they are properly activated. And again, we get the inside and outside of Registeel's room. Each room has a very special door with what appears to be the golem on it. So you can see a few of them here. The clearest one is definitely this one. So Registeel's, and you can quite clearly see that that is the golem, the inert form of Registeel drawn on the door. And again, it has those 6 dots on its abdomen that it doesn't normally have, representing potentially the method of awakening him. On the other hand, the new Regis, they have a twin temple, one that's split down the middle for both the different new Regi forms. However, it is obviously just as broken and ancient looking as the previous 3. As you can see from the corner there, you can see that it has a double door, so it's got a line down the middle with a very interesting pattern. Clearly not just the same dull looking image as the other ones have, it's got something unique on it. It sort of looks like an eye at the bottom there with maybe branches or antlers or something coming off of them. To be honest, it all reminds me very much of Yu-Gi-Oh! The old Yu-Gi-Oh! Like a Millennium Eye on a door, something like that. I'm a big fan. And lastly, on the front of the temple, it looks sort of like there are images there, engravings to represent the 2 special moves of the new Regi forms. So the Thunder Cage and the Dragon Head Blast, or whatever the dragon one is. It's a lot clearer on the electric one. You can sort of see where it makes the shape of a cage before it joins there. The other one's a little bit harder to see, but I'm assuming it's the Dragon Blast. It kind of looks like they're fighting. But yeah, that's about it. Just more speculation on the Regis, going over what we know so far, what I've been able to see from the various trailers and make sense of from the Pokemon websites. Basically, it's a lot of mysteries, a lot of lore, and as with all the lore in Pokemon, it involves trusting people based on random stories, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm a big fan of evidence. But yeah, what I want to say is a massive thank you to my Patreon, your boy Slifer. Shout out to him. What else? I mean, as always, do all the YouTube things. 90% of you are not subscribed, so if you could subscribe, that would be lovely. There is more PowerPoints on the way, because unfortunately I'm making a big project, and it's taken a little while. I'm sorry. It's a lot of editing, but doing this sort of content allows me to make that faster, and you still get something, hopefully, semi-decent in the meantime. So yeah, I want to say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.